Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and thank you so much for being here. Happy March 2024. In this reading vlog, we are going to be reading Listen for the Lie. I'm so excited to be holding an actual physical book. I've been reading a lot of books on Kindle because I live overseas, but my husband and I found a foreign language bookstore and he found this for me while I was perusing all the romance books. This is marketed as a women's thriller or a women's crime fiction. I don't know why the word women just keeps being thrown out there, but according to Amazon, that is how it is listed. It's a podcast book, so it's sort of a mixed media. So some of it is in the main character's point of view, and then some of the chapters are in podcast format with some podcaster named Ben. The premise of the story is there's a girl named Lucy. She was best friends with a girl named Savannah. They are from a small town in Texas. There was a wedding, not Lucy or Savannah's wedding, but there was a wedding. And then the night ends, and then early the next morning, Lucy is seen walking down the street, just kind of fumbling, and just seeming very confused and covered in blood, but it's not her blood. She's covered in Savannah's blood. Savannah is found dead, and now everyone's pointing the finger at Lucy. But the problem with Lucy is she has no recollection of what happened because she was hit over the head, as was Savannah. So we're trying to figure out what happened. The murder took place about 5 years ago, and there was never enough information to indict Lucy on actually being the murderer. She was just the suspect. Well, now, years later, this podcast called Listen for the Lie is hosted by a guy named Ben. And he had his first season podcast and they solved a murder. Him and his co-host actually solved a cold case. So now in their second season, he's reopening this case. I mean, not reopening, he's not a police officer, but he's diving into this case and wanting to interview everyone, including Lucy, and just trying to get a hold of everyone. Lucy has sought exile in LA. So Lucy's living in California. She's run away from Texas because everyone thought she murdered her best friend. And we're just gonna see where we go from here. The synopsis on Amazon and Goodreads are a little bit different than what is written on the back of the book, but it just seems so funny. It's by Amy Tintera, and it just says, "You probably already know me, Lucy Chase, the woman who doesn't remember murdering her best friend. You probably think I did it. That's okay, I get it. Being found wandering the streets covered in Savannah's blood wasn't a great look. Believe me, I'm as frustrated as you are. I'd love to know if I'm a murderer. It's the sort of thing you really should know about yourself." So it seems like it's gonna be really funny and I'm so excited to jump into it. But I'll update y'all as we get further. Also, I like to give stats at the beginning of my videos. So this is a brand new book. It is currently March 2024 and this book released in March of 2024. It already has 9,400 reviews though between Amazon and Goodreads, and it's got between a 4.3 and a 4.5 star. So seems like it's gonna be pretty good. This, I believe, is Amy Tintera's first adult book. She's known for writing YA books. I never heard of her until my husband showed this to me at the bookstore, but I looked her up because the synopsis just seems so funny. And I guess she writes YA books and now she's going into new adult or adult books. But let's jump in. I'll give y'all some updates. Okay, I have to leave and go to a dentist appointment, but y'all, the first chapter, it's in Lucy's point of view. It says chapter 1, Lucy, and it says, "A podcaster has decided to ruin my life, so I'm buying a chicken." Hello, I am back from my dentist appointment. Okay, something else that I didn't say earlier. So the back just talks about from Lucy's point of view, and we all think that she murdered her friend Savannah. But on the synopsis on Goodreads and on Amazon, it says that the podcaster is too good looking. He's a too good looking podcaster named Ben. So it is also making me think that something's gonna happen between Ben and Lucy. But anyways, I am back home now from my dentist appointment, so I'm gonna read some more and I'll update y'all when I can. All right, bye. Okay, so I just finished the first chapter. Lucy has been working for an investment firm as an assistant for the last year. But now that this true crime podcast has come out and people have listened to the first few episodes, even though the murder took place 5 years ago and Lucy never went to prison for anything, but now that it's gotten nationwide attention, her job is firing her, which I don't think they're legally allowed to do. They're lying to her and saying that they're downsizing, but she knows why. She is saying, you know, it's because y'all think I'm a suspected murderer in my best friend's death. And then also she's buying a chicken from the grocery store and she's calling it an apology chicken. It's a chicken for her boyfriend because she wants to apologize for being a prime suspect in her best friend's murder and not telling him about it. So Lucy has been dating this guy named Nathan for about half a year. The first 3 months that they were together, they each had their own apartment, and then her lease ended and he said, well, why don't you just move in with me? You're here every night. And she thought, well, it's been 3 months. That's kind of a long time. Sure, I'll move in with you. And she said that they were still really happy and they were still in that, you know, having sex all the time phase. And so she moves in with him. And then she said the excitement of that wore down about 2 weeks into it. So now they've been together for about 5.5 months. And they've really just kind of been roommates for the last 2 months, just sort of tiptoeing around each other. And she doesn't want to move out because she's living there for free, and also she just got fired from her job today, but she knows that they're not going to end up being together long term. But also she knows that he knows he listened to the podcast because he came home last night from work late and he smelled like beer and he wouldn't even kiss her hello. He just ran off to the bedroom and said, I'm gonna get ready for bed. And then now she got fired today. So now she's home. She's cooking him the apology chicken. And he walks in and he's just staring at her. And she said in her inner dialogue that once you've been accused of murder, all you think about is murdering people. So she's making her chicken and she's holding a fork and a carving knife. And she's just thinking about sticking it in Nathan's neck. And she said that the carving knife has 2 little points and it would just look like a little vampire bite. And so she's just staring at him and he's staring at her, and she's making it so awkward because she wants him to admit, hey, I listened to the podcast, I heard about your past, but he won't do that. And so she's just standing there waiting. But she also said in her inner dialogue that he's never asked her a single personal question. And even when they first got together, she admitted to him, oh, hey, in my 20s, I was married for 2 years. And he didn't even care. He just said, oh, okay, that's cool. Want to go see a movie? So now they're just staring at each other. And then he said, so how was work? And she said, I got fired. And he said, oh, okay. Do you want some wine? And he's just reaching for the glasses and the wine bottle and just being so awkward. So now she's thinking, great, I'm going to get fired and dumped all in the same day. We have met the first person being interviewed for the Listen for the Lie podcast. Ben Owens is interviewing Maya Harper. She is Savannah's younger sister. She is 6 years younger, and she was 18 years old at the time that her sister was murdered. So that would have made Savannah would have been 24, and it's been 5 years now. So Savannah would have been 29, which puts Lucy, I guess Lucy is around 29 or 30 years old. She talks about her early 20s as if it was a long time ago, as if she's in her 30s, but she hasn't actually said it. But Maya is just dead set that Lucy is the one that murdered her sister. And she's also saying to Ben, you know, it doesn't hurt that you're reopening this and trying to bring light to it because it's been 5 years. But she said, my parents hired 3 separate private investigators and no one could find any extra information. And she's just sure that it was Lucy because Lucy was covered in Savannah's blood. And then Lucy had skin underneath her fingernails, and it was Savannah's skin. And then Savannah had bruises on her arms that looked like someone had grabbed her, and I guess they were the size and shape of Lucy's fingers. But the police still didn't say that that was enough evidence to convict Lucy of actually murdering her. But the night of the wedding, whoever's wedding that they went to, that night, people saw Savannah and Lucy arguing, like they were fighting. So All right, well, we've met the first interviewee, we've met the little sister. Y'all, this book is so funny. So she knows Nathan is gonna end it with her, and so she's just waiting and looking up places to live. Well, she found a spot that doesn't require proof of income. And she said that the photos look like it's a dump, and the landlord also asked to see pictures of her feet. So she went ahead and emailed him. And then she applied for a couple of jobs over the weekend, and one of them has already sent her a rejection letter. And she said, I'm really killing it, pun intended. Lucy is walking around the grocery store looking for something to chop up into tiny little pieces in front of Nathan, just to make him more uncomfortable. Lucy's grandma just called her while she's still at the grocery store, and grandma's drunk right now, and she says, I'd like to ask you a small favor, and let me remind you, I'm almost dead. And Lucy says, what, grandma? What is it now? You've been telling me that you're almost dead for the last 20 years. And grandma says, well, all my friends have been dropping like flies, so it's got to be coming true at some point. But grandma guilt trips Lucy into coming back to Texas for grandma's 80th birthday. So now we're going back to where it all happened, where it took place in Plumpton, which is not a real city in Texas, by the way. I'm from Texas, but I still looked it up. Couldn't find anything. And grandma says, oh, are you and Nathan still together? And she says, yeah, you know, Nathan's Nathan. We're still whatever we are. And so grandma invited Nathan to come too, because she's going to pay for their plane tickets. And Lucy says, I just don't think it would be very wise to take Nathan back to the scene of the crime. Plus, she also knows Nathan's about to end it with her. So grandma just says, all right, you can come. How about this weekend? And then she says, wait, how's work going? And Lucy goes, oh, I got fired. And Granny says, oh, well, then you can stay even longer. How about a week? So now Lucy is about to fly back to Texas and be there for 7 days. And she's going to stay with her mom and her dad. And there's something going on with her dad. It's as if he doesn't want Lucy to come home. I don't know if he really thinks that she murdered her best friend. I'm not sure, but we'll find out more about that. Grandma knows about the podcast. She said, oh, and Lucy, by the way, did you hear about that podcast thing? The one about you? So Lucy goes and buys a suitcase because she doesn't have one. And then it kind of goes into a flashback, and she says that she used to have a really nice matching luggage set, but she left it all at that house whenever she had her husband. Whenever she left him, she just left with all of her clothes stuffed into garbage bags. So there's that I would like to know more about. Well, then she gets to the apartment where her and Nathan live, and Nathan's home, and he sees her walk in with that suitcase, and his eyes get really bright and excited because he thinks that she's gonna move out, and she's thinking, wow, subtle dude. And he says, oh, are you going somewhere? And she says, no, this is for a dead body. And his lips part, and he just looks at her all stunned, and she says, what? Do you think I should have gotten a bigger suitcase? Lucy pretty much forced Nathan to admit that he's listened to the podcast. And then she just says, you know, most people would want to hear my side of the story. And he says, oh, well, I do. I want to hear your side of the story. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, you're such a liar. You're not even good at lying, at saying this. And she says, look, whether you want to know my side or not, I would never hurt Savannah. She was my best friend, and also I don't remember anything. And so then Nathan walks away because he's just so uncomfortable. And then her mom calls her, and her mom says, oh, hey, did you hear about that podcast? There's one episode out so far. You should listen to it. So now Lucy's packing and she's listening to it, and then she lets the reader know that Ben, the podcast host, has emailed her 3 different times and she's never responded to him. And he just keeps saying, hey, it's Ben. I run a podcast called Listen for the Lie, and I live in LA too. I would love to meet up with you on your terms and get your side of the story. So we'll see. We know at some point they're going to meet up. That's the whole point of the book, but right now she's just ignoring him. And we've already listened to the first episode as the reader. It was with Maya Harper, Savannah's little sister, talking and just saying that she knows Lucy did it. Lucy and her grandma have not seen each other in 5 years since Lucy pretty much sought asylum in LA. And her grandma even told her, unless you come home to Texas, I'm not going to see you, because her grandma refuses to get on an airplane, but also her grandma is afraid to go to California because she's afraid they'll force feed her kale. Ben is in Texas. He got there a couple of days ago, and that's how he interviewed Savannah Harper's little sister, Maya. I had no idea. It didn't say that, but the next chapter came, and yeah, Ben is in Texas, so this definitely means he and Lucy are gonna run into each other. All right, Lucy's home. She's in Texas. She's at her parents' house. Her mom broke her leg. She was at the gym and she was on the Stairmaster, and she describes it as, you know, that machine with the stairs that lead to nowhere? Well, I missed a step and I fell. It was so embarrassing. So her mom's dealing with that, and her dad, Lucy's dad, he thinks she did it. It's been 5 years. He hasn't seen his daughter in 5 years, but he for sure, that's just the way that it's being read. He's being so weird towards her, and it's making me feel really bad. But her mom is so funny. Oh my gosh, her mom she makes light of everything. She doesn't even care. Her mom even has a photo of Savannah and Lucy and a couple of other friends from a wedding, a different wedding, not the wedding the wedding where Savannah got murdered at, but a different one. And it's right there on the end table in the living room. I mean, if that isn't a conversation starter. And Lucy even said it gets people to look at it and say, oh my gosh, is that from the night that Savannah was murdered? Her mom. Her mom she apparently loves attention and loves talking about her almost murderous daughter. And then the dad thinks that she did it. Lucy has so many violent fantasies, and all of her therapists know about those. She's been to plenty of them, and they all just tell her to just continue on, think about your fantasy, and then just fly with it, move on with your day. Don't try and block it out. And I mean, it's constant. Everywhere Lucy goes. I mean, when she was at that grocery store, when her grandma called her, she was thinking about murdering the girl in front of her that was looking at a squash. She was thinking about different ways to bludgeon her with a squash. And now Lucy's home, and she's looking at the lamp in the living room and thinking about ways to smack it over her dad's head and have his brains go all over the wall. But then she was thinking, oh, but that would be so much work for my mom to clean up, and part of it would probably get on the couch, and that's a new couch. And then she just starts thinking about her current therapist, and her current therapist is just saying, yeah, roll with it. Don't try and block it out. But apparently all of her therapists have said this, and I just, oh my gosh. It makes you really think, as the reader, did she do it? Because this girl is crazy. I mean, she's come up with every which way to murder Nathan, her boyfriend. I can't wait to see where we go from here. All right, we have met a second person being interviewed for the podcast. His name is Gil Bradford, and he was the one that found Savannah. He's the jogger. He was out on a run, and he saw a bright pink dress just out near some trees, not even hidden, just plain as day out there, saw the dress, walked up, saw a body attached to that dress, realized whoever this was dead, called the police, and then when the police came out, they had made note that it had rained the whole night before and that morning. The rain had just let up before Gil went on his run, and so any evidence that there could have been was washed away. The next person being interviewed is Billy Jack. I just love all these Texan country names. He is the one that found Lucy. So Lucy was found about a half hour after Savannah was found. Billy Jack was driving in his truck, and he saw a girl in a light blue dress just kind of staggering as if she was drunk early in the morning and was barefoot. And he rolled down the window and said, hey, hun, do you need some help? And when she turned to look at him, her dress was filthy, makeup running down her face. She had blood and mud in her hair, and she had a huge welt on her forehead. She was also soaking wet because it had been raining, and she just looked at him with just a dazed look in her eyes, and then just kept on staggering down the road. And he thought, no way am I about to leave this girl who's clearly in distress, but there's also no way I'm putting her in my truck. So he called the police. Well, the police were very excited about this. They thought, oh my gosh, it's got to be Lucy Chase. That's her name, Lucy Chase. It's got to be Lucy, because they had found Savannah and Savannah was dead. And so they thought Lucy might be dead. So when they showed up to the scene, they were so happy to see her and happy to talk to her. And so at that point in the investigation, very, very early on, no one thought that Lucy was the one that murdered Savannah. Also, I'm saying that the police were happy to have found Lucy and that they had been looking for her because everyone saw Lucy and Savannah leave the wedding together. So they left together, and then Savannah was found early the next morning, deceased. And so they were thinking the worst about Lucy. That's why they were happy to have found her alive and thinking she must have some recollection of what happened last night. Hey, good morning. It's the next day. Just doing a little bit of reading here. We have met another character that Ben, the podcast host, is interviewing. Her name is Ivy Harper. She is Savannah's mom. Y'all, tell me why I want Lucy and the podcaster to get together. I am such a romance reader at heart, but I like, expanding my horizons and reading other things. But romance is ultimately my favorite genre. And Lucy's drunk grandmother set this up. She told Lucy to go to this diner, this small little diner, and pick up their food. And while she's there, she looks over and the diner's mostly empty. There's 3 tables that are set, and one of those tables is Ben. And he's just staring at her, and then she's staring at him, and then Lucy's thinking, if I don't go over there and at least say hello, he's gonna come over to me. Because remember, he's emailed her 3 times throughout the last couple of months trying to get her to do an interview because he's doing this podcast. And so she walks over to his table, and he's just gazing at her, and then he gets all flustered. He drops his pen on the ground. He has to pick it up, and then they're just staring at each other some more. And I mean, remember, the synopsis on Amazon and Goodreads said that he's good looking. He's too good looking, like TOO. Like he's too much. He's too good looking. But Lucy keeps calling him a smug podcaster with his smug look. But why am I swooning right now while she's at the diner? She's standing there and she says, everything I'm saying right now is off the record. And he said, oh, is there something you want to tell me? And she said, no, I'm just telling you, this conversation is off the record. And he said, oh, okay, how's your mom? And she said, she's great, thanks. Why are you here? What are you doing in town from LA? And he said, well, I heard you were here. Oh my gosh, I'm swooning. And she said, did you think I was gonna change my mind about giving you an interview once I saw your charming face in person? And he said, maybe. And she said, well, you've already had some great interviews. And he said, oh, you've been listening? And she said, maybe. Oh, y'all. The drunk grandma, she's gonna be my favorite character in this book. Lucy is getting on to her. Grandma, what the heck? You knew that bastard podcaster would be there at the diner. And Grandma just says, well, yes. And then Lucy said, are you wanting to have an 80th birthday party just so that you could invite me and get me here to Texas to talk to Ben? And she said, well, I feel like it's really obvious, Lucy, that that's literally what I did. Why is Lucy being a stalker right now? She has driven onto the street where her and Matt used to live. Matt still lives in that house that's there with his current wife. She just pulls up and cuts the engine so that no one can hear her, and she's just staring at the house. And she notices that the flowers that she had planted are still there on the front lawn. The windows still have the custom shutters that she had made and installed. Why is she being creepy? Why is she at Matt's house right now? Also, she's still dating Nathan. Lucy and Ben are bantering back and forth in the diner again. It's like their new little meeting spot. It's so cute. They're just going back and forth with each other, and they both just know what to say to kind of tease the other. And then she agrees. She agrees to do an interview with him on the record, and he gets out his phone And she looks and she says, "Are you texting my grandma?" And he says, "Yeah, Beverly and I talk often." Hey, so it's the next day again. I really want to finish this book. It's so good, y'all. I am about to leave in maybe an hour, maybe about 50 minutes, and meet up with some of my girlfriends at the train station. We're going to Tokyo. I'm not sure if y'all have watched any of my other vlogs. To me, it sounds like I'm going to Tokyo every other day. And every vlog I'm talking about it, but we go once a week. We go on Wednesdays. So today's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday in March. But I've just been reading this. It's people in this town in Plumpton, Texas they're so mean to Lucy, and it makes me feel really bad. I mean, no one ever found out who murdered Savannah, but now Lucy has run into Savannah's older brother Keaton, and he is just awful. He's so mean towards her. And I don't want to say, bro, it's been 5 years. I mean, because that was his sister that passed away, but also, I mean, there was no evidence that it was Lucy. I don't know. But she's still with Nathan, although Nathan is not wanting to be with her anymore. He's sending her text messages just saying, like, you know, we shouldn't do this. And she's writing him back saying, why? Even though she knows. And then she met up with her ex-husband, Matt. They went to a Mexican food restaurant and got, I don't know if it was lunch or dinner, but Matt, I don't know how I feel about him, because Lucy had a traumatic brain injury. She had a TBI. And literally the day that she got out of the hospital, he kicked her out of the house. He just said he needed some time to think, which would be why in the beginning of this book, she doesn't have any luggage. And she said she used to have really nice luggage when she lived with Matt, but she left his house or their house with all of her belongings and trash bags. That would be why. She got out of the hospital, and then he just, I guess, believed that she did it, that Lucy was the one that did it. And so he just told her, I need some time to think. You should go stay with your parents. I can't imagine doing that to my husband, to your spouse. But at the same time, I don't know. She is or was a suspect in a murder case, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of him. We've seen some more of Emmett, who was her best friend all through childhood into high school, and then they kind of branched out after college. And so Emmett's really sweet. I like him, but people in this town are so mean. And I really want to know what's going to happen with Lucy and Ben. She already met up with him again to meet his assistant, Paige. And then Paige was asking Lucy questions, and I'm just so excited for their interview. Also, Ben asked Lucy to see if she would ask Matt if Matt would give an interview, because Matt kept saying no. So when Lucy was at lunch or dinner with Matt, he said, well, yeah, I told Ben no because of you. And Lucy said, don't tell him no because of me. I think you should give him an interview. So let's see. I think I'm close to nearing the halfway point. This looks like a giant book, but it's only like 330 pages. I'm curious about Lucy's dad, Don, because Don has been so weird towards Lucy this whole book. He has been basically really strange and just stayed kind of away from her for the last 5 years. This is his daughter. But he gives us the impression that Don thinks that Lucy did it, that Lucy's the one that murdered Savannah. And he's been really odd. Well, now the 4th episode has aired of the podcast, and Ben is interviewing just all sorts of people. Y'all, I have so many names down on my little journal that I'm writing in, because there's so many characters in this book, and I want to keep them all straight, because sometimes it'll flash back to a podcast and you'll get more information from another person and you're like, wait, who was that person? Who did we read about 2 chapters ago? So more people are talking, and they're just saying that Don used to be a different person, and now he's just been really weird since this all happened to Lucy. And they're all thinking that Lucy knows something, and that she told her dad, and that dad is trying to protect his daughter. But as the reader, we don't get that vibe. We get the vibe that Don thinks that Lucy did it, and now he just avoids his daughter at all costs. Well, now that episode has aired, and Lucy's mom is just on the phone with the entire town. She's calling everybody, and she's so mad because they're also speaking bad on the podcast about Lucy's mom, and Kathleen's pissed off about that. And Kathleen is saying, you know, I gave Ben an interview months ago and he's yet to air any of our interview. And then Lucy runs out of the house. She's like, I gotta get out of here. Well, she runs into her dad in the front yard, and he just looks at her and says, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. If you ever remember anything, I'm here. If anything pops into your mind, you only tell me. You don't tell anybody else. And Lucy just says, you'll be the first person that I come to if I remember something. But I gotta go. I'm going to grandma's. And then she just leaves to go see her drunk grandmother. But, I don't know. This book it points the finger. I mean, it keeps mostly pointing the finger at Lucy, but I don't know if these are all like red herrings, but it's just making me wonder about all these other characters. And now I'm really wondering about Lucy's dad. I have to leave and get to the train station, but Ben and Lucy just met up again because Lucy's mad at him. She's like, are you trying to make me seem like a psychopath? What was that last episode that you just aired? And then, you know, they get through that. And then Ben says, your grandma invited me to her birthday party. And Lucy said, oh, she did? And Ben said, yeah. Do you mind if I go? Why do I want there to be romance in a murder book? Oh, I just want it so bad. It's so cute. Hello. Okay, y'all, it has been quite a few days. I had a birthday. I believe the last time I checked in with y'all, it was Wednesday, and now it's Monday. Have I mentioned to y'all that Lucy hears voices in her head? I'm not sure if I've said that. That has been going on the entire book. She hears these voices. They always show up italicized, so you know it's coming from her internal monologue. And the voices, for the most part, are just constantly saying, let's kill, let's kill. And then when she's having ideas of killing certain people, because remember, she's talked to her therapist about this, all of her therapists, she's always hearing her voices say, let's kill. But then sometimes if she's thinking about killing somebody, the voice will say, oh, I have an idea. We should kill them. She's a very unreliable narrator when it comes to that, because you don't know, like, we still don't know if she's innocent or not. And she doesn't seem to be like a psychopath or a sociopath, but she has these voices in her mind. I'm not sure if she's on medicine. We're also, you know, still unsure about what happened that evening of the murder. And I don't know, sometimes I wonder how much of an unreliable narrator she is, because I feel like she's constantly telling us the truth, that she really doesn't remember. And, you know, her and Nathan are breaking up, and she's got a crush on Ben. And I don't know, we're in her head a lot, but I just don't know how much of it is true. And also, she hears voices telling her to kill everybody around her. So Ben will release 1 or 2 episodes a week of the podcast, but he wants to start cranking out more mini episodes in between that, just to get some of the interviews out in real time, because there's people he interviewed months ago and those interviews haven't been aired. And then there's people he interviewed last week and those have already been on the air. And because he's creating a story, he's trying to get all of his ducks in a row. So now he's launching a couple of mini episodes this upcoming week, and he gets on, and the first thing he says, how does he word it? He says, to answer the question that approximately 10,000 of you asked on Twitter, yes, Lucy has agreed to do an interview. Okay, we just had a turn of events, and then on the next page, a bomb was dropped on us. So the book is just getting better and better. Drunk Grandma is my favorite character, hands down. She is my favorite character in this book. So it's the weekend, it's our 80th birthday party. Everybody is there. There are so many people at this event, and Ben walks in and everyone is staring at him thinking, oh my gosh, is that Ben Owens? Is that the Ben Owens, the podcaster? And Grandma just walks over to him and says, everybody, this is Ben Owens, that podcaster. You know the one. She loves making situations even more awkward than they already are. And it just brings me joy. We are headed back into the woods where Savannah's body was found. We're gonna see if Lucy can conjure up a memory and see if anything comes to mind when they go back to that spot, and then when her and Ben go down the trail where Lucy was found walking by that driver. All right, Ben, this is such a great idea. Let's make this as traumatic as possible for Lucy. It's not like she hasn't done this before to try and create a memory, but okay, let's see. Grandma is on the podcast. Ben asked Lucy out for a drink. Is this a date? Oh, let it be a date. Please let it be a date. She's looking in her closet to see what dress she has to wear. She's seeing what else she brought with her to Texas. Oh. Okay, someone that I didn't expect to want to talk to Ben has just approached Lucy and said, hey, you know that podcaster, right? I want to talk to him. What is happening? Did I tell y'all about Paige, Ben's assistant to the podcast? She's so funny. And their banter, Ben and Paige have a brother-sister relationship. And it just cracks me up. Just the way that they go at it with each other. I love the scenes with them. And there's one happening right now. And she's like going big sister mode on him right now. And we are learning even more things right now. This book is good. This book is good. I wanted to check in with y'all, but I can't really say anything right now. We're getting there. We're getting to the end. What is happening right now? Oh, what is happening right now? My heart is racing so much right now. We are almost to the end, and this could go so many ways, and my heart is pounding. Read this book, please. It is relatively short. I think it's 330 something pages. It's very big. Read this book. 5 stars. It has been such a good reading month so far. Please read this book. The banter, all the characters, the podcast element to it. So it's mixed media, I guess is what you could call it. You've got Lucy's point of view, but then you've also got the podcast, which is, I guess, Ben's point of view. But then you have all the people that he's interviewed talking. And it is so good. Y'all, read this book. I want to read more from this author, Amy Tintera. She writes all YA novels, though. I was just looking her up. This is her debut into adult, but I don't care. I'm interested in reading her YA novels if they're as good as this. You're just hooked the whole time. Please read this book. Thank y'all so much for coming along on this journey with me, and read it. Please read it. It's out in the States. It just came out this month. I think it came out in the States maybe March 4th. I got this in February, but I live overseas. But it's out. It's out wherever you're seeing this. Please read this book. Read it and tell me what you think, because this is a 5-star book for me. All right. Bye, y'all.